RvB13 music panel. So we're going to let a couple people introduce themselves. I think you know the gentleman from my far left.
Hello, my name is Miles.
Hello, my name is Miles. I'm the writer-director of
Season 11.
To my immediate left.
So my immediate left is a newcomer. His name is David Levy. He's one of the two composers to this season.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Get started.
And season 13 was the first season I worked on. And prior to working on RvB, I was doing a lot of freelancing, writing music things, trailers. And I specialized in Hollywood sound, like sound. And I was hired to bring that sound into this the first season that I worked with.
My name is Nico. I'm rolling for
And today we are going to talk a little bit about how some of the music in this season happened, why it sounds the way it sounds, and talk to you a little bit about sort of how the sausages are made and how sort of the spices are made. I'm not making a sausage fest. I'm not making a sausage fest.
Too late.
So the way we're going to do that is by looking at specific moments that happen in the season.
So spoiler alert.
So yeah, there are going to be spoilers. I'm going to try not to swear, but sometimes I do, so I apologize in advance. But I'm going to try not to. I'll swear in French. And one of the things that I would like to start with is by saying that we're very lucky because I live in Seattle. Levy here lives in Austin, so we work remotely via Skype. And we are pretty much polar opposites of each other. I don't know how Miles and Cohen found him, but like if you made like a negative impression of me or a positive impression of Levy, you would get us. In other words, I mostly work with analog equipment. I mostly work with guitars and basses. I'm self-taught when it comes to music production and music theory, and Levy's the opposite of that. He worked at commercial recording studios as an intern and then as a slave. After the slave and you work mostly with sound libraries?
Yep. I kind of got used to working with sound libraries as I started composing. The project I got, most of the projects didn't have a lot of budgets. So very small budgets, so I couldn't go and hire a lot of musicians. So I just became obsessed with learning how to utilize the best sound libraries. And that really made sense.
And so yeah, we're complete opposites of each other, and somehow it works though, I think. So basically what happens is, when we look at these moments to score, we approach them very differently. And there are two very important elements that are involved in this kind of collaboration. Because the way that we work with Miles is a vertical system, which means that Miles is on the top and we're on the bottom, and Miles gets to do this, and we're like, okay, no problem, let's do it. The way that Levy and I work is a horizontal system with collaborative. And so one of the very fundamental elements of collaboration is trust, meaning that if you have a collaborator that's approaching a musical moment, completely outside of your comfort zone, that's awesome, because that's where you sometimes get a little bit magic happens. But you have to trust that person and do what you're supposed to do. So that's one component. And the second component is luck. They're called delicious mistakes, and this is why I'm going to play this first example, because it's a moment that will sort of underscore how I approach a moment, how Levy approaches a moment, and how sort of luck begins to play and the moment happens. So, let's see, do I have a video player?
If not, I will. If not, I will. and the simple playback.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Kind of the episode, we're still working on it. As they were working on it. So they will work with what we call playglass, which is the grayscale track, and things like Ozzy shining, it's the weird traffic, and there's no lighting, and the compositing, any of that. Yeah, no sound design, I think, is just music and dialogue. Yeah, so it's always fun whenever you guys will be working with an episode in playlist form for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then when the episode finally comes out, it'll be an updated version of the episode in your end date. Oh my god, I didn't know there was going to be fire there. So yeah, you actually
Without any music, this moment is the death of Sharkface. Sorry for the spoiler.
No, you can break me, burn me, bury me alive.
As long as I'm still breathing, it will never be over. I will hunt you. I will burn you. As long as I'm alive, you're all as good as dead.
When Clayton did the sound design on that moment, by the way, I could not stop laughing. I was like, yes! Get out of here!
So basically, early on in the season, I think it was around 6 or 7, we came up with this Sharkface theme, which was this like little 4-note. Not really reinventing the wheel or anything, but that's what's sort of associated with Sharkface, right? And so my idea for this death sequence is I was thinking, why don't we have like that melody but have it descend? Like, let's do this pretty little, almost church-like, lamenting, tragic. You kind of feel bad for the guy. So that was my approach. And so I told that to Miles, and he's like, yeah, I'd be interested in hearing that. And then Levy.
I felt the complete opposite, actually. I thought it should be really aggressive, like a machine, something like rough, like it's something that just won't die.
How's the machine sound like? And just to give you a little bit of background on 16, Mr. Luna.
Yes.
So we have these weekly audio meetings via Skype, and as we get closer to the end of the season, our production schedule gets tighter and tighter. And so Miles gives us the heads up on the big landmark episodes that require a lot of attention. And so we said, well, what's 16 look like? And Miles is like, what did you say?
Well, it's like there's a train fight, so that's definitely definitely a train fight. It's like a lot of dialogue. So.
Two major characters.
Look, man, all right. I didn't want to hit you with everything up front and like scare you away, and then I got to do the rest of the music with like a kazoo and a xylophone. All right, that's basic.
So we basically have a couple of days to score these two cues, and on this one, it was in the morning. I remember, and I said, all right, well, you've got your idea. I've got an idea. We established the tempo. We said, let's do this tempo. We established the key. We said, let's do it with this key. And you try to do your thing, I'll try to do my thing, and let's talk.
It's talking 15 minutes.
So it started off, with this, with me doing my little pretty guitar thing. And the thing is, man, I could not play it at that tempo. It was so slow, I could not get it to flow. So this is what it sounded like.
At that point, I already had my part, and I can send it over now.
That's right. So this is what his part sounded like. So notice, like, my parts are called like that. What are your parts called? Bass roar, distorted cello, bass filter. together, and I was like, wow, this kind of sounds good. So this is, well, sounds interesting.
So you see, the parts on their own are not they're not as cool as combined, obviously.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite musical cues from
It
there.
really
so.
came together when we combined the two.
And so the lug element is this horrible temp track, just terrible performance, actually kind of fits in with this guy on his last status, because he's I'm sure he could not play guitar keys. So that's one moment, and now we're going to look at another moment, which is going to be another character, the Lieutenant Generalissimo Brigadier General Donald Doyle. Now, Donald Doyle is a really cool character because he's sort of an anti-hero kind of guy. You know, he's kind of a wimp, kind of a coward. Definitely some I relate to.
I think we all relate to Donald Doyle a little bit.
And
Too soon?
no proof. And so one of the things that got really tricky is that starting in episode, well, earlier too, but starting in episode 14, Donald Doyle became a little bit, the hero part started to manifest itself. And so we're having our weekly audio meeting, and one of the things that happens during these meetings is we'll have a watch through with Miles, and he'll tell us our notes on the different moments, you know, and he'll usually sometimes just sing them to us.
Yeah, Miles, he's the brain behind everything.
Yeah, Miles is perfect pitch, by the way. Even if he doesn't do it, he doesn't know it, he's got perfect pitch.
For the 16 train fight, I literally on my phone and recorded my mom going. I was like, just make it like that. Thanks, guys. See you in a week.
You're laughing, but I actually took the recording and put it in a session and started getting jokes out of it.
Don't do that. It's dumb. I really need to learn to read
It'd be really
music.
fun to release an episode with just your thing.
Just
on.
the eyebrows. Boom, boom, That's Space Melter.
So this is the scene that he played for us. Without music.
I always imagined you as a tyrant, a madman bent on absolute control. Now I see I was wrong. You're just a stubborn, incompetent man, and I don't know what's worse.
You're far too eager to die for your beliefs. When you felt the government had betrayed you, you stood against it. When your leaders fell before
Watching this one like that.
and now, when we are at our most vulnerable, you want to fight. I can honestly say that I've never met a more courageous individual in all my life.
Boom! Bomb drops.
I mean, all right, great job.
And Levy and I looked at each other and we're like, holy crap, this needs music. And we're like, Miles, what do you think? And you,
I don't remember what I said. It's all a fever dream at this
well, no,
point.
I mean, a lot of times, like, you'll be like, this is what I want, or this is what I don't want. And you're
That's right,
like,
this was
I
hard.
could, and you said, you know, I could see music there, but one of the challenges that we have with a lot of these scenes is, you know, music needs to be almost like a person's makeup. Like, if you notice it, you've already failed, kind of thing, you know? And with this dialogue, it was like, I mean, I knew I wanted to have music there, but I wasn't sure what to put.
It's a really delicate scene, so we couldn't do too much.
Yeah.
We really underscored it.
With Red vs. Blue, one of the difficult lines of the walk is it's a show that started off as a comedy, but now has evolved to something much more serious. I mean, episode 16 is a prime example. And it's a really scary line to walk because with just a few misplaced steps, you cross the line from dramatic to melodramatic and soap opera and stuff. And nice job, Adam.
No problem. Everything is
So
fine.
sometimes you need the music needs to be subtle. Like you would hit this with like super piano and like a super straight. Like sometimes those are called for. Sometimes that's completely uncalled for. And this was one of those moments which was, yeah, this needs music, but oh geez, what's it gonna be?
Right. So I was hearing strange, beautiful things, and worked on a couple of ideas. And the reason I want to play this this particular sequence is for two reasons. The first one is that the part that Lemmy came up with is very much a part that I feel like I would come up with. Meaning it's very simple, and it's almost as much focused on the soundscape as it is on the So when it came time to finish 16, and one of the advantages that the music team has over the animation team is that as we build these little themes for characters, we create this like palette, this language that we can then dip in as we get later into the season and at shorter production cycles. Whereas for animation people, they just have to stick with us. So now we're going to look at the last final moment of episode 16, where we have Doyle, who now is check out.
But that thing we just heard, that's when Doyle's theme was, that's when it came about for the first time. That's when it was created, and it evolved from that point on all the way up to his death.
Exactly. Exactly. So here's the sequence without music.
The hell was that? No.
Doyle, what is it? Doyle, are you ready?
I'm afraid I won't be joining you. The controls are destroyed. There's no way to overload the reactor with enough time to leave. But I can still trigger an explosion if I damage the core myself. You came from over here.
Don't be an idiot. We need you alive. Just stay low and we can come to you.
You're alive, someone needs to be here.
Lindsay's fan.
Yeah, the voice acting in this section is
It's just as you said. Sometimes you have to respond.
Then let me do it. If Felix isn't in the city, you'll be putting the sword right in his hand. There's no time.
Come on, let's go! Sure. For God's sake, Vanessa, I know it's not perfect, but I promise as a leader, and even worse, as a soldier, this is all I can do. We have to go. We'll finally have a chance, a real chance, and if Felix is out there, I know you can stop him. There he is! They spotted me. The time on this detonator barely lasts a minute. You need to go.
God damn it, Doyle! Stop!
Or still need you to kill them. So, when you die, you had better damn sure that those you leave behind and carry on without you. I know who I am. This is General Donald Doyle. Signing off.
Wait, no!
I think one thing that's really important out is just how much music adds to a scene as well. You really feel when you're watching silence.
Well, it's because you make the room for it.
Any last words, General? I'd like to quote the great great William
I love that
Shakespeare, but to tell you the truth, they don't actually say. What the hell is that? It's a bomb in the reactor! What? Get us out of here!
Giant explosion.
Brace for impact! Hey, where's your alignment?
Full damage.
Charge! Here we go!
It's actually one of my favorite moments in this season, and I love the fact that Carolina calls them church and not Exelon. Because first of all, it's a lot more staccato. It's a lot more like, get this done now. You have time for 3
She's always,
seconds.
yeah, she very rarely calls him church.
But it's also, it underscores the personal hang. So in this scene, what did we do? Well, we started with what we played for you before, our Doyle synth, which is not Shark Room.
So we have the progression already, but now it evolves. It's not soft like before, it's pulsating. I think they call it pulsating.
This is why these two work so well together.
And then, so we started with that, and then we put on these drums. Let's see, where the hell are they? Drums. Percussion, That's pretty much what we played. Yeah. And I was like, oh god, these drums are so awesome.
Yeah, you're great.
You look good.
Like we'll just watch a scene and he goes over his keyboard and pulls up the percussion and it's just like, okay, like, yeah, I'm gonna that too now.
So, just as a little side note, one of the things that the music does sometimes is you'll notice here, this is the dialogue, right? See the sound waves, see how you have quieter there? That's because Doyle has this real quiet.
Course still need you to kill.
So we have to centralize.
So, when you die, you better do that.
That's when Miles comes in. He's like, watch out for that line, so we have to take things out to make
This
sure
is General Donald Doyle.
Miles is incredibly musically inclined. He has perfect pitch, but he's very, very much involved in the music production of Red Rooster. Much more so than certainly any director that I've worked for.
Oh, thanks, guys.
And in a good way, because he knows what he wants. Most of the time, not all.
Not all the time. Let's not even talk about it. Let's not talk about it. Look, man, I'm gonna say I was off my mark with 18. You showed me the light. It was great. You guys would love 18. Oh my god. Oh my god.
But no, he knows what he wants, and that makes our life, so much easier. Anyway, so back to, and I was like, man, I want to put a bass line on this. So I took the Dan Electro and I started putting together this bass line. So it goes.
Very Halo.
It is very Halo.
Yeah. Appropriate.
Then what else did you add? Oh, you added the piano. Gotta have the piano. All my strings here. And so an interesting thing happened. This was from the rhythm section. And I started working on a guitar part, and I wrote a guitar part that I would have never written 8 months ago. Because, and to say that I wrote it is kind of weird, because I was just sitting around on Skype with Levy, and we're listening to these tracks, and it's like, well, what if we did this? No, that sounds like garbage. What if we did that? No, that sounds, terrible. Oh, what if we did that? Oh, that's great, but I don't know. And then I played this thing, and it's very much of a string part to my ears. It's what a violin would play, not a guitar. And that's what this part is. Okay, talk.
Now. Well, let's play them. I can.
Okay. So this is the strings I played for the end of the
Oh, sorry.
episode. And this is, I mean, this is like a little bit technical, but one of the things that amazes me is how realistic strings can sound. And I mean, they are real strings, right? They're patches. They're, I mean,
The
they're patches of people playing.
But I bleed over those things to make it sound real.
Can you explain to them how a sample library works?
Sure. Essentially, those libraries are they record real string players doing real articulations in different pairs. And the problem with those libraries is that there's so many and they all do different things, and none of them ever works on their own. So it takes a lot of finagling and volume automations and velocity automation and automation and combination of different libraries to come together in order for them to sound realistic. So it's painful to get those things to sound real.
Right.
But
So this is what
we have the cello here.
Yeah.
In the second, we have a counterpoint melody that will come in with violas here and now. This very much feels like a trailer track, just to keep stacking more notes with it. And now the violins came on top of that. So each section of the strings playing totally different. That's the same melody that Nico's playing the guitar a couple seconds ago. That's being played with violins.
So we did something really interesting with that episode, which was because the ending is so abrupt. We're with Epsilon and Carolina at the last moment, and then something happens. They're hit with this nuclear explosion, and we don't know, did they make it? Did the ship crash? Is Epsilon alive? Or do we have to add another body count to this episode? Like, what just happened? It was so jarring that we made the decision. I told him, it's like, don't resolve it. Just don't resolve the song. Just in the middle of the greatest, amazing climax, just stop. And it's super, super jarring. It's super jarring, and it leaves you uncomfortable. And I think it was unique of that just at the end, which was, what if we just had a ringing sound, like a flashbang just went right off next to your ear? I was like, yes, and we threw it in, and that's all you're left with. And the idea was the viewer would watch the episode, the music would just cut, they'd be left with a ringing, and then they would go, what? And that seemed to be the result. So, yeah.
And I have some somewhat bad news is that if you don't like that effect, this tune, which is going to be on the soundtrack, is going to have that effect. It's going to not resolve. In fact, the shark face doesn't resolve either.
Yeah.
Try to keep it as close to what plays throughout season 13. The good news is that the soundtrack will be available in digital format on the same date that the last episode of season 13 airs.
And it's amazing. Like, if you guys did this stuff, like, please go out and support these guys. Buy the soundtrack. It's got a million tracks on it, and they're all beautiful. It's
42 tracks.
42 tracks on the soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
42 songs that you can enjoy all the time forever and buy for all your friends for Christmas and Hanukkah and everything. Okay, that's pretty good. I just love Doyle's little whimper.
All right, so this is the sequence now with all of the instruments, and then we'll have a training after that. So if folks want to have some questions, we can go ahead.
Doyle, what is it?
sending Dumbledore out in a blaze of glory. That was hands down one of the most difficult things I've ever had to write before, and because Donald Bill was one of my favorite characters, and still seeing that gets me super emotional, and I think it's so much is thanks to the stuff that you guys do. So thank you. Thank you. So, for the second half of this panel, we'll be taking questions, giving you answers, and if you guys have a really awesome question, we have some merch up here. We have the Season 12 soundtrack, if you guys don't have it. It's really cool. Love the artwork on it, especially not because I'm biased or anything. Oh, it's not open. The artwork is cool. I really dig it, and I love the music from Season 12. And then we also have some of our Season 13 posters of Kimball, Carolina, Sarge, and Tucker up here. Just to say thank you for asking questions and stuff. So yeah, why don't you start us off, man? Unless you guys have anything else you want to say before we go to questions.
Nope, that's it. Thank you very much for coming to the panel, everyone.
What are your guys' methods to composing? Personally, I feel like I'm really cliche and generic, and I don't really seem to build too much. Do you guys more watch and then just kind of play along with something as you're composing? Or do you just kind of already have an idea and expand on that however you do?
It depends. If it's something that doesn't have a pre-existing melody or chord progression, then really you just try to watch it as many times as you need to and see what kind of mood that scene is projecting, and you kind of try to follow that with the music. And Miles notes really help a lot about that, because it's pretty difficult to, with the state of the videos that we work with, no sound effects, we're missing a lot of things a lot of times, and it's kind of hard to understand what's really happening. So if we're not sure, we're just going to keep bugging him.
Either we bug Miles or we just watch it over and over again. And the first key is to try to get sort of like the general emotional plateau you're trying to get. Right. Is it angry? Is it aggressive? Is it sad?
Yeah.
Is it, and then once you get like your basic building blocks, then it's like a pile of rocks that you move from point A to point B. It's like, if you just say that, it's simple.
Right. To me, it's like once I identify the mood, I'm going to try to figure out what instrument is going to work best with that mood. And that part usually takes the longest. And it's not even a matter of what notes to play, it's what sound is going to enhance that scene.
Oh, thank you guys.
Thank you.
So my question is very similar. In my experience between playing and arranging composing, the micro emotions are hard to convey. But you have your macro, you have your happy, sad, minor chords, perfect tempo, stuff like that. So for me, it's the hardest part of, like, I know you have a scene built up, you have dialogue, you have other emotional cues to go off of. But how, again, I know you already kind of built your building blocks, but how do you go from the macro emotion of, oh, this is a sad scene, this is a progressive thing, this is a suspenseful scene? How do you go into the micro and convey that directly?
Sometimes once you establish, well, sure.
These assholes.
Once you establish your general palette of language, like sometimes, like if you've got like this little moment of fear, like there's one moment that I really like to think about actually. Did you play Halo 1?
Yeah.
You remember that last level when you're driving in the Warthog through like and everything's the world is coming apart and this music's going, it's like jump, scuba, blah, and then you jump and you're high up in the air and you hear these little strings that go right? So once you establish the language, like adding a little bit of excitement or a little bit of sadness or becomes a lot easier. And I think that's something I don't know if I'm answering. Am I answering this question correctly? No.
Great.
Oh, thanks. Did I answer your question? No? Yeah? No?
Let's go with that.
You want to know?
Would you consider the section we just watched with Doyle, the first thing, the synth, would you consider that in micro?
No, the synth was more the building. This
Like that scene, would you consider that?
that was
micro emotion?
Well, it was in and of the scene. You had the dialogue between.
Kimball.
Oh, there it is.
It's okay, we do this all the time.
So you have the dialogue going in there, and then you had your emotional throwbacks from each character, and then within that you heard the music rolling. right before they hit the dial. So stuff like that, like how you have the music built around the beat.
A lot of that is luck. You would not imagine the amount of luck that we've benefited from, not just in this season. Are these things made out of wood?
You want to knock on it?
Yeah. Meaning that sometimes, like,
Get up on your mic for the streamers.
What's that?
For the audio for streaming, get up on your mic.
Oh, sorry. You know, a lot of times, like, you'll get a general tune in your head, and like something will happen on the screen, and you'll have a temp track there, and it'll match perfectly. And so luck is a huge element of it, at least for me. I don't know right
Yeah,
now.
just keep trying too. Okay. Try different things until something clicks.
Macro. Or maybe we're just macro guys. Okay.
I'm a pinky.
Thank you.
Wow, really?
Yeah, remember that old
Did
commercial?
you get rid of that terrible laptop yet?
I did.
Yeah, you got a new laptop.
How you doing?
So you guys build like really interesting character motifs and things and all that kind of stuff. Who usually leads that? Is it one person? Is Miles sometimes just, hey, I want this character, I want this theme? Who leads that kind of stuff?
You mean in terms of music?
Well, yeah, a lot of times we get the character theme, but like, look at
Who comes up with the melody?
A great example is the Shark Face thing.
Right.
It's actually something that was, we just kept, we start with one idea, and what we do is we usually, like for Shark Face, for example, we split off into their own thing. We have ideas, we record them, and then we pitch them to each other, and we narrow everything down to 1 or 2 different melodies, and then once we agreed on it, I think the original melody, it wasn't what we're hearing now. I think Nika took it and did his thing to it, and sent it to me, and I added something, and before you knew it, it was dead. It was complete. So it's really like a combined effort between the two of us.
I mean, we're doing stuff that 15 years ago would have been impossible. We trade entire sessions that or stems that are a gigabyte or a gigabyte and a half, like twice a day. And it doesn't seem like a big deal now, but 15 years ago, man, a gigabyte.
10 years ago.
10 years ago. 3 years ago.
A year.
Last year. Yeah. So it's very collaborative, and there are certain melodies, like some of the new melodies, I can't tell you where they begun. And where they ended, because they just bounce back and forth, a lot.
Yeah, and different scenes, it's kind of like, if there's a very big action scene, I'll take the lead on it. If it's a very emotional scene, a lot of times Nico will take the lead on it. But in almost every single piece of music you hear, it's been through both computers. It's through both minds and fingers and sweat and blood.
The first episode was the 3 of us in a room.
That was
we set up a fold-out table on your laptop and like turned some shitty speakers. And like, I was like, try this. No, hold, I got it. And it was really cool, just like seeing it live. It was like a tennis match.
Yeah. Now, one thing that's a little bit interesting, and I spoke about it, I don't think it was last year, it was 2 panels ago, which is that, you talk about Miles' involvement. So at the beginning of each season, well, now that's changed, but I used to send, those little guitar chords, the transitions? I used to just send them like these long, that's perfect. That's blues too.
That's blues too. Yeah, no, but I know. Yeah, that's some classic Blood Gulch.
And so there are just a bunch of transitions, and I sent some to Miles. This was before season 11.
Yeah.
And we worked on the Monday after that RTX in your office.
We did the Freckles theme and for blues.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for that, we actually looked at a Mantis.
Yeah, in Halo 4, and did the
tempo
tempo was the pace at which a Mantis walks. So that's where that tempo came from. It was this big, lumbering, mechanical monster, Frankenstein or something.
But one thing, and I unfortunately don't have those files with me, but out of those transitions, which are really just literally just Miles was like, hey, check this thing out. This could be a really cool bad guy. And I'm like, ooh, what's that? And I played it at the panel not last year. Was it at last year's panel that I played it? But was it last year's? But that's where dum 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 do 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 do.
Yeah, I have it on my phone. What? So Wait for it. Yeah, that's Locust. He's a creepy son of a bitch. I remember because like a lot of times I don't know how to like properly use musical terminology or whatever, but I would always be like, there was some Spanish thing that you did. It just sounded like a lot of your noodling would start off, and then by the end of it, it always goes into stuff that sounds appropriate for Lopez. Right. In the middle of that, in the middle of Lopez was Locust, and it was like, you cut that out and drag it, and let's make it evil and eerie, and add the drone and the feedback, and oh, dude, I love it. I love it.
And so, in that sense, like Miles is the first director that's really also an arranger in terms of music. So,
Come on,
Thank you.
last question.
okay, whoa, got a lot of people. All right, thank you.
Hi guys.
Hi.
I don't know what you're doing. My question is about inspiration. With a show like RvB that's been around for so long, when you're trying to do something, do you look at what you've done in the past? Do you have other sources, or do you just try to do something new and unique?
That's a really good one.
Yes, 2 C's.
Well, that's a real challenge for Levy, actually, because, you know, I don't know if you've ever done any renovation in your house, but a contractor will charge you about 3 times as much to replace an existing window rather than putting in a new window. It's much cheaper to just cut a slot and put a new window. Whereas, you know, Levy coming on as a composer, he's got some things that you might call baggage. He's got all these pre-existing characters that have got all these different themes, and so, you know, that's additional work. And you have to be careful to use it in a way that works for you, that works for Miles, works for you, for me.
I think the best example of what did we call it, 13ifying pre-existing theme was episode 1, Lucas and Felix's speech to the space pirates and the prisoners. We took the established themes, Loom that we just played, as well as Soul Clef, which is kind of like Felix's theme, which that was a thing that we worked on during season 12.
Yep.
We just took those melodies, played them on a cello, slowed them down, make them very eerie and snake-like, and just walking up behind you to stab you in the back. And it was a lot of fun. That was a perfect. I think when we got to that in episode 1, I was like, oh, this season's gonna be great.
It was when you played the Felix theme on the cello, it's like very legato and anyway. Thank you. Hi.
You expressed about and talked about how you work with Miles and how that process works. How does that compare to what you had to do when you first started doing Rivers Blue Burning?
Sure. Miles is much more hands-on. Much more hands-on. Much more hands-on. You know, I mean, for the first seasons, I mean, I came on as a fan. Like, I just loved the show, right? And so it was very much me just sending random files to Matt and to Bernie.
RvB13.mp3.
That was the first one. And,
see.
you know, like the Blood Gulch Blues and A Girl Named Tex and all those early tunes, it was just me mailing it to them, or mailing them to them, and sort of saying, well, let's see what happens. You know, there was no real back and forth. So, like, a good example for that is First Wave. What was that first used?
It was used at the end of season 6. That was the epilogue of season 6.
Right, the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right. And I'd sent that, like, a year before, maybe, and it was like, hey, look, check out this piece, and, you know, never heard anything back. And then, like, you know, season 6 comes up, and there it is.
Now it's like one of the most iconic pieces in the whole series. You hear that, and you're like, oh, yeah, Dr. Leonard Church. Whoa, drum bop, whoa. Yeah.
So I think, you know, it was much less back and forth. It was more like, here's some music, and they'd be like, oh, let's do something with them. Like, you know, when Gavin directed season 7, he used some files that I'd sent like a couple of years before that were just sitting on a hard drive.
Preparation. Yeah.
Demos too, right? And oh yeah, that's the other thing. They're demos. That's right. The other thing is, when you're sending music, well, I started doing that less. They're demos. They're not meant for general consumption. They're like, here, this is an idea. This is a sketch.
You're just pitching them to Miles or whatever, just to make sure that he likes them before we spend a whole week perfecting them.
And so now we get to actually perfect them, but in the previous system where you're just sending files, sometimes stuff that shows up, there's one song in particular called Preparation, which is, I didn't even title, I don't know if he called it that, but it's on a YouTube video somewhere called Preparation. And it just sounds abominable. It makes me want to cut myself when I listen to it. It sounds so boxy and And I don't know, maybe we could do something with that.
I could see Corporation coming back.
Did we?
Maybe.
Fired.
It'd be a cool song to use,
Anyway,
maybe.
so a lot more back and forth rather than just, forth.
Cool. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Don't be, it's okay, so are we, man.
This guy's
I'm
sweating
scared, I'm
bullets.
scared shit.
I don't know, I'm great.
Everywhere here, doesn't it? Yeah, and this is like a general question, I've been a fan since 2006, and you're starting to wrap up season 13 along with the Forest Girl. I'm just wondering, do you have any future plans for the season after 13?
Oh, absolutely. I can't tell you anything.
You have a lot of things left out, and I don't want to say it for everyone, they may not understand.
Hey, don't worry about it. Hey, all I can tell you is I am very, very excited about RvB13.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan myself.
It's
I
gonna
know
be
it's getting bigger and bigger from here, right?
Thank you so much for your question.
Thank you.
Come on.
Hello there. Hello. So you guys, when you guys analyze the videos they send you to check the dialogue and the action, how much does the environment play that? Like with Doyle, his death was lava, very close here, and how much does the city or stuff things like that play into how you
Well, unfortunately, most of the time when we get the scenes, there is nothing in the background, but there is, it's very static. So we kind of have to ignore it. We go really off the dialogue, and then most of it's just keep on the dialogue. So it's not really visual for the most part. I would say that 80% of the episodes that we worked on, we didn't get to see finished until they came out.
Nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clayton, our sound designer mixer, does a lot of the final touch. He's always in. Stand up, Clayton. No, this is Clayton over there. Clayton also works in the realm of audio and does a fantastic job. I'm pretty sure episode 18 will give him nightmares for years to come, as will you too. But yeah, a lot of it is us in the sound booth just trying to get that final mix for 5.1 for the episode release online, because we have to take into consideration most people are going to be listening to these on shitty laptop speakers, and you're like, oh, that's fun. But yeah, no, it's a crazy, complicated process. Also, you look awesome.
You mentioned that it was a lot of a top-down relationship. I was just wondering, for the fight scenes in particular, have you ever sent something to the animation guys to choreograph something around music, or is it almost you always get the finished fight product and you have to make the music match what has to be given?
I can actually answer that one. So we kind of did a little bit of both. So very, very rarely will we ever have the completed music before a fight. We had one instance of that in episode 1, Felix taking out the people on the bridge at the Tartarus. We had the music for that before we had the fight, and then because of that, we had to change the music quite a bit. We had to just go back and make some changes. So typically, in an ideal world, what you will do is we have the animation roughly. We know about we know how long the fight or the scene or whatever is going to take place. So then what we'll do is we'll establish a BPM or a tempo, beats per minute, and that will let our editor Connor know, okay, there's going to be a beat every time this is happening, so he can know, I should make a cut here, or I should make a cut here, because when you have cuts that are a few frames after the beat, then it come across as awkward. I mean, you're just in the moment, you don't know why that felt weird, but it felt weird. So in an ideal world, we'll at least have the BPM down that Connor can work with in his final edit. And then once everything is timing locked, typically what we'll do is we'll send a non-finalized version of the scene as soon as we can to these guys, so they can at least start looking at the tone, the emotions, the drama, and the scope of everything, to kind of start laying foundation. And then once the timing is locked, that's when we wrap it up with Burrito on top.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice.
First off, Miles, why do bad things happen to good people?
Why do bad things happen to good people? Because the universe sucks. Next question.
You said you had a theme for. Do you have a theme for every character that you go back to whenever that character's in a scene, or do you just kind of go off of each scene for the character?
Not every
It'd be a
character.
little heavy.
Yeah, it'd be a little too much. And we'll do it.
We do it a lot.
We do it a lot. I'm a sucker for themes because I don't know. I'm like, that again. Ooh. I don't know. No, not for every character. It's funny. Some songs have become tied to characters, like Big Prize. Down, 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 down. Like that is Reconstruction, right? Well, to me, that's also Wash's theme. Like those two are synonymous together. Same thing goes with in season 7 when Tucker shows up and saves the day. That is what's the name of that song?
Another one down.
Another one down. Yes, that has kind of become synonymous with Tucker, which is why it's used in the big 18 fight in season 11 when Tucker steps up to go shut off Facebook to save the day. Yeah, I don't know.
And I think you can be sort of like pretty repetitive, but again, it's that line of dramatic, melodramatic. Like you want to underline a character's presence, but you also don't want to beat the viewer.
Yeah, and sometimes you can do something more subtle, like you can come down to the instrumentation, where you're not playing the same melody every time, but typically if it's a scene that involves the Reds and Blues or something with Shinema, you're probably going to hear a Dan Electro or a Telecaster. Like, that's just, to me, the sound of Red versus Blue. Like, that was the first 5 years of the show, so they go through stuff. Like, for example, when we did episode 1, our idea was we would not have any guitar or recognizable anything until Felix showed up on screen. Because prior to that, everything looked different. We didn't know any of the characters. We didn't know where we were. We wanted to feel very alien and strange. And is this still Red versus Blue? And then when the doors go down, you hear the guitar and you see Felix. It's just like, oh, we're back now. And that's all it takes. All it takes is just an instrument sometimes. Good question.
Miles.
Yes.
So when you're writing Red vs. Blue, do you already have like an idea of the music, like as you're writing it, or is that like just a general, or do you know exactly?
It's a moment by moment thing. Sometimes, like for example, in 14, Kimball talking with Doyle, we all knew there needs to be something here. I had no idea what it was. I was like, it needs to be. It can't be heavy-handed. It needs to be really subtle, and it needs to be. I think that I'll like just grasp at words that I feel like mean things. So like I think with that one, I was like, it needs to be sincere. You could take that in so many different ways, and that's so vague. I'm sure they were like, cool, sincere. I'm going to kill this kid. But sometimes it's like, that's all I can do is like give it a word or a tone or something like that. Yeah. So then there's other moments where, end of season 12, I told them, hey, I want to do relay, but I want it in 4/4. I want it to be militant. I want it to be cowboy. And that's how you got...
And he actually sang the drum part, right? So, the part where Church reads the
dear
letter.
chairman. Yeah.
How'd you do it?
What was it?
I have an MP3 file.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Oh my God.
I literally,
You can play it if you have it.
I
have to make a copy. Hold on, let me see real second.
It's a voice note. So I took that file and I emailed it to Steve, who's our drummer in Boston, who plays all the drums. And I said, here's the melody. Now the melody's in 3/4, but the relay goes da-dee-da.
Anyways, that's enough of that. Okay, I have to follow up that really embarrassing moment with one more. I was in a conference room one day trying to do the episode 16 thing, going, and the door was open, and Gavin walks by and goes, so sometimes, yeah, I have the exact idea. Other times I'm like, So, yeah, good question, thank you.
Miles, is it hard for you guys to update the songs, changing the beats or tempo as the seasons change? Like, have that song became more militant?
I'm so sorry I was not listening. I'm very, very sorry. I was talking about nice man.
Is
is it hard for you guys to update like that song change to a more militant beat for that scene? Is it hard to make a change from the original version to something new?
That's much for you guys.
It could have been nearly impossible because, well, nothing's impossible, but it so turns out, so what I was going to explain before is relays in 3/4 time. Da dee da da, it's a one. Da ya ya da dee da. And when Miles sent me that thing, I said, dude, what you're sending me is in 4/4.
You were very stressed at the time because you had an impossible deadline, just like everybody else working on that season. I felt so. You're like, dude, why?
It was the caboose thing that really threw me.
That was rough. That was rough.
But anyway,
That moment was
and it actually turns out that the tempo at which Miles recorded that little goofy thing that he played for you is the exact 4/4 equivalent of the relay song, to the point where the guitar that plays on Relay Epistolary, which plays at the end of last season, is actually the same guitar track that plays on the intro. So in other words, if you have 4/4 time, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But that can also be subdivided as 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4. And that's 4/4 time. That's the division that comes through.
Yeah.
Unconsciously, and he also has perfect pitch.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Okay, we got time for a couple more, 2 more maybe.
Hi.
Sorry.
I was wondering how you talked a little bit about how the internet, being able to send things back and forth, it kind of helps speed things along. How has processors speeded things like that enabled things?
Not in
Like
this.
bigger?
Well, more for you actually. For me, not in the slightest. But for you, definitely.
Like things, have you been able to make bigger, louder, kind of on songs with that extra power, or is it basically the same?
Episode 11, Pro Tools.
It did. No, 18.
No, 18. Sorry.
18, yeah. 18 was incredibly big.
You ran out of tracks.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be a thing.
Much more so for you than for me, because you use a lot of processing.
Yeah. Just the sound that I get usually, in order to get it, is just a lot of stacking, like hundreds and hundreds of tracks. And if I send this guy more than 4 tracks, you'll I'm like, dude, I'm mixing 80 tracks now.
Yeah. I use a 4-year-old laptop.
But yeah, definitely we're able to get really big with it.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so I think last question. Sorry, everybody else.
Amazing
Sean was it. All right, 2 more.
What was the most difficult song for throughout the whole season 13 that the 3 of you had to collaborate on?
We probably
all 3 of us, I would say
18 for the longest. It was very I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it was a complex.
It was a very
complex theme and a complex.
Oh
music.
my God! Yes, 18 was the behemoth of it.
Yeah. For all departments, really.
Yeah.
Wasn't just the music.
If you haven't caught on yet, something really stupidly big is going to happen in episode 18, so you can look forward to that.
Thank you.
Robert, one of our compositors, is like, fuck that episode. Sorry, I swear.
Okay, one more question. Thank you.
I'm on CDs, you can have posters.
Okay, so what's your musical baby out of all the seasons you've ever worked on around?
All the seasons?
Last couple.
Let's go with the trilogy, I guess. Or you can go of all time, it's up to you.
Contact. I really like Contact. What?
Contact, Armani was a good
Armani
one.
is good too.
Of course, yeah.
But I mean, you said over the 3 seasons.
Yeah, no, I go with that. Yeah, Contact's beautiful, man.
That's the one that I really.
What about you? What was your baby?
Not that I've written, but from everything, I really like Harmonia.
Armani's good, yeah. Yeah, Contact has got a special place in my heart.
I really love the episode 18 music. Not to be like this is so obnoxious, but we really, a lot of love went into that episode.
Yeah,
a lot of
blood, sweat, and tears.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears,
Yeah. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
question. Wow.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of our tonight.
you have to have more questions, we'll be hanging out there.
We're also signing in like an hour somewhere.
Oh, yes.
We don't know where that. I'm unplugging the audio now. If someone's
Oh my God.
Thanks. Right.
Oh, hey,
Miles.
what's up, guys?
Sarah, this is
Thank you so much, man. I'm a huge fan of the series. I really the shows. Thank you. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. Hey, Jordan, what's up next? Okay. Where is it? Okay, so you gotta go there. Oh, Oh God! Okay, yeah. He wants my job. He wants your job. So I'm gonna have to run here real soon, but I can talk to you guys real quick. Thank you so much for this. Thank you guys for coming out.
Everyone, please, that's it. This is a room clear. Please do not hang around the front table. We have to get you guys out of
I
here.
give you guys high fives. I'm really sorry. They gotta clear out this room and I have to run. I'm so sorry. I'm booked solid this weekend. You look amazing.
I play the piano on
Thank you so much, man. I can't express how much I appreciate that. Gentlemen, David, I gotta go.
It was the success, but not the work.
Some more drinks. Nico, drink. I gotta run.
You gotta work. You gotta fight for it.
Oh.
And I don't know how to get
Cheers, guys.
So you can do it.
Why should I get some magnifying sunglasses? It's ridiculous. Wait, what is this? You said if you wanted to super villain, you could joke on it. Oh, dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. I'm gonna wrap it back. Literally wrap this. Great job on everything. Thank you so much. Such a big inspiration. Thank you. You guys are fantastic. Oh, you might be better than I am right now. I love cartoons. Not to discourage drug lines. Never discourage drug lines.
I'm the piano.
You are.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you.
Everyone's going to cry.
Yeah, I did.
Bye, guys. Oh. You did a great job. No, great. I'll see you later. Hey, you did fantastic. Was that your first panel ever? It was. You were a natural, man. You're great. Have a great one, guys. Nico. Hey. Hello. How you doing?
Where'd you get that? Where's the drink?
I bought it. It was $5 fucking. Yeah.
You guys walk away.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Yeah? I'll do it. Enjoyed
Yeah?
Yeah?
You just want to be a picture? Yeah, sure. I love the way Good Fight goes over that. And this one, the way it's very in.
Thank you very much.
Dude, there's like photos came back last year where like we were in the panel. This part of my forehead was just like a beacon.
That'll be great work.
Thanks, buddy. 25 minutes. He was like being serious about it. I was just
Thanks, guys. Thank you. It was great, man. Oh, yeah.
I can see if there's anything to be gained from doing it over here.
Hey, Annabelle.